Right now, your subconscious is activating your entire world. Every person, every event, every circumstance. And it's doing it whether you know it or not. Tonight, you're going to learn how to consciously direct that subconscious power instead of letting it run on autopilot. My name is Michael, and I developed this for everyone whose subconscious has been creating by default instead of by design, for anyone who is ready to take control of the most powerful force in their life. This meditation has two parts. First, I'm going to discuss a key principle from Neville's lecture, Power Sent Me. Then, we'll move into the actual meditation. You can use the timestamp if you want to skip ahead, but this will be much more powerful if you stay with me for the next few minutes. What I'm about to share will change how you understand your subconscious mind forever. So let me tell you something most people don't know about their subconscious. Your subconscious isn't just processing your thoughts. It isn't just storing your memories. It isn't just running your body on autopilot. Your subconscious is activating your entire world. Right now, every person you encounter, every event that unfolds, every circumstance you find yourself in, all of it is being activated by your subconscious. And here's what's wild. Most people have no idea this is happening. They think their subconscious is this passive thing sitting in the background, maybe influencing their habits or their emotions. But Neville Goddard teaches something completely different. He teaches that your subconscious is a power, a creative power, an activating power. And in his lecture, Power Sent Me, he describes this power in a way that will blow your mind. He says, imagine you're standing in Grand Central Station at rush hour. It's complete pandemonium. Thousands of people moving in every direction, all with their own intentions, their own goals, their own lives. And now imagine that you arrest an activity within yourself, just a shift in your own subconscious. And the moment you do, everything freezes. Every single person in that station stops mid-step, frozen. And if you release the activity, they continue exactly as they were. But here's where it gets interesting. If you change their intention while they're frozen and then release them, they will move forward with that new intention, and they will think they initiated it. They will think it was their own idea, but it wasn't. It was you, your subconscious, activating their world. Now, I know that sounds impossible. I know it sounds like science fiction. But Neville says he has tasted this power at intervals. Since he was sent into the world, he has experienced arresting the activity that seems so independent of him, only to discover it's not independent at all. The forms are independent, but their life, their intentions, their actions, all of that is in him, in his subconscious, and he is activating his world. Now, when Neville talks about imagination, about assumptions, about living in the end, he's talking about the mechanics of your subconscious. Your subconscious is where imagination lives. It's where assumptions harden into fact. It's the powerhouse that's creating your reality right now, whether you're conscious of it or not. And here's the key. If your subconscious is running on autopilot, it's creating by default. It's pulling from old patterns, old beliefs, old assumptions, and it's activating a world that matches those old patterns. But the moment you consciously direct your subconscious, the moment you give it a new assumption, a new state, a new intention, it activates a completely different world. Not tomorrow, now. Let me give you an example from the lecture. Neville shares a story about a woman who had a dream. In the dream, she finds herself far from where she needs to be. She has no car, no money, no friends nearby. She had a topaz, a valuable stone, but even that is gone. She's standing at a ticket office with no way to get to Neville's home, which is where she desperately wants to be. And she's about to panic. She's about to ask herself, what will I use for money? But then she arrests the thought. She stops and she remembers the teaching. She goes within. She accesses her subconscious and she imagines herself in Neville's home. Not hoping to get there, not planning how to get there. She imagines herself already there, and instantly, she's there. No car, no money, no external means, just her subconscious activating the world to match her assumption. Now, Neville says this woman was called in the depths of her soul because she proved the power. She didn't just hear the teaching, she applied it. She consciously directed her subconscious instead of letting it run on autopilot. And her subconscious did what it always does. It activated her world to match her assumption. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Your subconscious is doing this right now. It's activating your world right now. The question is, what assumption is it working from? Are you consciously directing it? Or is it running on old programming, old beliefs, old limitations? Because if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling powerless, if you're feeling like life is happening to you instead of for you, it's not because you lack resources. It's not because you lack connections or luck or money or talent. It's because your subconscious is activating a world that matches the assumption of lack. And the moment you change that assumption, your subconscious changes the world automatically, perfectly, inevitably. Now, Neville makes a comparison in this lecture that I think is critical. He talks about nuclear power. He says, sure, you could destroy a city with a nuclear weapon, but is that power? Real power, he says, would be the ability to take a city without destroying one brick, one child. Real power would be the ability to arrest the activity of millions of people, change their intentions, and release them to fulfill what you decided. And that power, he says, exists in your subconscious. Your imagination, your assumptions, that's the power. Not the power to destroy, the power to create, the power to activate, the power to rearrange the entire world from within. And here's the beautiful thing. You don't need external resources to use this power. You don't need money. You don't need connections. You don't need social status or intellectual background or luck. Neville says in the lecture, a man with $2 billion can't buy what this power gives you. He can't buy respect. If he makes one political mistake, he can't buy love if his heart is closed. He can't buy peace if his subconscious is in turmoil. But you, with nothing but your subconscious directed consciously, can have all of it. You can occupy any state. You can activate any reality. You can live in any end, because your subconscious doesn't care about your bank account. It doesn't care about your resume. It doesn't care about your circumstances. It only cares about the assumption you're dwelling in. And it activates a world that matches that assumption. So tonight we're going to stop letting your subconscious run on autopilot. We're going to consciously direct it. We're going to give it a new assumption, and we're going to let it do what it does best. Activate your world. Rearrange your reality. Create the life you've been waiting for, not by force, not by struggle, but by assumption, by occupying a state in your subconscious and letting your subconscious activate the world to match it. So take a moment now to settle wherever you are. Let your body find its comfort. You might close your eyes if you haven't already, and just breathe. We're about to reprogram your subconscious. We're about to give it a new assumption, and we're about to watch it activate a new world. Let's begin. Sit comfortably wherever you are right now. Let your body settle into a position where you can remain still for the next while. You might be sitting upright or lying down. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're comfortable, that you can let go. Close your eyes if you haven't already, and bring your awareness gently to your breath. Not changing it, just noticing it, the natural rhythm of breathing in and breathing out, the rise and fall of your chest, the air moving through your nostrils, just breathing natural, easy, simple, and with each exhale, let your body become a little heavier, a little more relaxed, your shoulders dropping away from your ears, your jaw softening, any tension in your face, just letting it melt away, your hands resting, palms open or closed, whatever feels natural, your legs heavy and still, and as you breathe, you're beginning to sink down into the surface beneath you, like you're being held by something soft and supportive, and there's nowhere you need to go, nothing you need to do, just this, just breathing, just relaxing, just being here. Now, with each breath, you're moving deeper, deeper into relaxation, deeper into stillness, deeper into that beautiful space between waking and sleeping, that state akin to sleep, where your body is so relaxed it almost doesn't exist, and your mind is calm, quiet, receptive. And here is what's happening right now. As you sink deeper, you're moving past the surface activity of the conscious mind. You're entering the deeper levels within you, the place where assumptions take root, the place where imagination impresses itself, the place from which your world is formed. And as you rest here in this deep, peaceful state, I want you to understand something. Your subconscious has been at work all day. It has been faithfully expressing the assumptions you've been dwelling in. Every person you encountered, every event that unfolded, every circumstance you experienced, all of it reflected the states you occupied. But those states were familiar ones, old assumptions, old beliefs, old patterns. And tonight, you're offering something new, a new assumption, a new state, a new inner position to move from. So let your body sink even deeper now. So relaxed, so still, so at peace. Your eyelids so heavy they feel impossible to open. Your breath slow and gentle, and you're drifting deeper into that inner place where creation begins. And as you rest here, I want you to think about what you want, not what's missing, not what you don't have, what you want. What kind of life do you want to be living? What state do you want to occupy? What reality do you want to experience as natural? Bring it to mind now, not as something distant, not as something you're hoping for, but as something already established within you right now, because here is what Neville teaches. The subconscious does not distinguish between what is happening outside of you and what you are assuming within. What you consistently assume inwardly is what takes form outwardly. So right now, in this deep, receptive state, assume that your desire is already fulfilled, not going to be fulfilled, already fulfilled. What does that feel like? If this were already true, what would be different right now? How would your body feel? How would your breathing change? How would the world feel to you? Let that feeling arise. Let that reality take shape. And do not concern yourself with the means. Do not concern yourself with how it will happen. The woman in Neville's story had no car, no money, no visible way forward, but she did not need any of that. She simply occupied the assumption of being where she desired to be, and the outer world rearranged itself accordingly. So give your subconscious the assumption now. Assume your desire is fulfilled. Assume you are already living from that state, and allow the law to do what it always does. Now let me count you down even deeper, from 10 to 1. And with each number, you'll sink further into this inner stillness, further into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. 10, letting go of surface awareness. 9, sinking inward. 8, drifting deeper. 7, resting in assumption. 6, quiet certainty. 5, halfway there, halfway home. 4, the state becoming natural. 3, everything aligning. 2, it is settled within you. 1, you are there now. And here, in this deep place, there is no doubt. There is no questioning. There is only assumption. And assumption, when rested in, expresses itself as fact. Not tomorrow, not later. In its own perfect unfolding. So rest here now. Rest in this knowing. Rest in this inner conviction and allow the outer world to reflect what has been established within. From Neville's lecture, these words, the forms are independent, but not their life. Their life is in me, and I am the one who animates my world. Feel the truth of that now. The people in your life have their own forms, their own appearances, but the meaning they carry for you, the way they show up, mirrors the state you occupy. And right now, the state you are occupying is one of fulfillment. So rest in that. Let the breath continue on its own. Slow, gentle, effortless. Notice how natural this feels, how ordinary. There is no forcing here, no striving, no effort, just being. Now I want you to allow a simple scene to form, a moment that would naturally occur if your desire were already fulfilled. It might be a conversation, a quiet moment of relief, waking up into a life where this is simply normal. Whatever comes, allow it, make it sensory. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? And as you experience it, know this. What is impressed here must be expressed there. That is the law. So rest in the scene. Experience it gently. From Neville's lecture, these words, believe in the reality of your imaginal act. If it took armies to release you, it would make no difference. Feel that freedom now. The outer facts do not matter. Circumstances do not matter. Only the state you occupy. So assume it now. Assume you are where you want to be. Assume you have what you want to have. Assume you are who you want to be, and remain there. Now let yourself drift even deeper, so relaxed you can barely feel your body, your mind quiet like a still lake. And in this stillness, everything is being set in motion naturally. You do not need to do anything. You only need to remain faithful to the state. So rest now, rest in the scene, rest in the assumption, rest in the knowing that what is established within must be reflected without. And if you drift into sleep, allow it. Sleep supports this work beautifully. As you sleep, the assumption remains, and when you wake, it remains, because it is no longer something you imagined once. It is a state you now occupy. So loop the scene gently. Experience it again, like a lullaby, like waves on the shore. Each return deepens the familiarity. Each return makes the state more natural, and the more natural it feels, the more effortlessly it expresses itself. From Neville's lecture, these words, "You do not need a social, intellectual, or financial background to achieve your goal." Let that settle. Nothing external is required, only assumption. And your assumption now is fulfillment. So remain here, remain settled, remain at ease, and allow life to mirror what has already been accepted within. Just rest now. Rest in the state. Rest in the I am, and let the law do the rest.
I've been saying through the years that God has sent me. I tell you, one day you will know it. In the meanwhile, let me now tonight explain what I came to do and who responds. In the words of Browning, he said, truth is within ourselves. It takes no rise from outward things. No matter what you believe, there is an inmost center in us all, where truth abides in fullness. And to know, rather, consists of opening out a way whence the imprisoned splendor may escape, than in effecting entry for a light supposed to be without. Paracelsus. So if truth is within us, and I am speaking the truth, you will know it. Everyone who receives it and believes it, they will know it. One who will not receive it will not know it now, but they will eventually know it. So in the words of John in the 17th chapter, and Jesus is speaking to his Father. In these words he said, I have given them the word thou gavest me, and they have believed that thou didst send me. Verse 8. These you will read in the 17th of John. Now what I told you is this. I stood in the presence of the risen Lord. He wore the human form divine of infinite love. He embraced me and incorporated me into his body. I became one body, one form with the risen Lord. One Spirit, one Lord, one God and Father of all. So here I was sent to tell the word of the infinite power of God. And I tell you, that power is our own wonderful human imagination. It's beyond the wildest dreams of man who monkeys around with nuclear powers. Oh yes, I could destroy New York City, but is that power? Suppose you had a power where you could take New York City without destroying one brick, one child in the city. Suppose you came upon a scene that's animated, not like this because you're all attentive. You're animated, but you're attentive. But an animated scene. Take a scene of now, say, Grand Central Station in New York City at the rush hour. It's sheer pandemonium. Or the stock market when it's going down or up. And there's an exchange of, say, 13 million shares in the course of a day. To see that scene is the most fantastic thing. I saw it when it was only 8 million shares in the exchange. But I thought I was in bed. Everyone is mad about a dollar. And they're watching the state, and they're moving back and forth, are peculiar just like bees. Now suppose you came upon that scene, animated as it is. And as you look at it, you knew that if you arrested an activity within you, everything would stand still. And you did, and everyone was frozen. Now if you release it, they continue their intention. No matter how long you held it, a second, a minute, an hour, they will continue their intention. But suppose as you arrest the activity within you, you change their intention. Just imagine you change their intention and then release it. With the change motivation, they move under compulsion to fulfill what now they think they've initiated. They think their ideas are now completely original and that they have initiated. Put that now into a vast picture of an army. Tens of millions seeking the destruction of you, the center of your country and your country. And if you could arrest the activity as it's poised to hit, and having arrested, you change their intention, you can make them all, like the lemmings, run towards the ocean, beyond their depth, and start them breathing under the depth, and drown them all. That's what you could do. But you will not do it with this power, because no one is sent in to do it until he is first incorporated into the body of life. And it's only God playing all the parts. But that's the power. I have tasted of that power at intervals since he has sent me into the world. Just at intervals I tasted of it, arresting the activity that seems so independent of me, to discover that it really isn't independent of me at all. The forms are, but not their life. That their life is in me, and I am activating my world. And so, as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son also to have life in himself. John 5:26. Now here is how the one who is sent into the world calls his disciples. No man cometh unto me, save my Father called, but no one. John 6:44. So I will start on the surface of my being, and I will teach of the infinite power of your own wonderful human imagination. To what extent do you believe? For many are called, but few are chosen.
Matthew
22:14. Because many will say, oh, I believe, and give you lip service. So I do not listen to what they tell me on the surface. Oh, I believe it, they'll say. I am not the judge. He didn't send his Son into the world to judge anyone. He didn't send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world may have life, everlasting life, and be saved through him. John 3:17. No one who believes in him is condemned. And those who do not believe, they are already condemned, because they didn't believe in the name of the Son of God. Well, the name means nature. The nature of this Son, of which I speak now, is power. For Jesus Christ in Scripture is defined as the power and the wisdom of God.
1 Corinthians
1:24. So when you stand in the presence of power and you are sent by the power of God. And the power of God is Jesus Christ. He then is the Father, and He expects the talent given to be wisely invested, so that when you come back with the investment double, He may say, "Well done, my faithful servant. Enter into the joy of the Lord." For you went out, regardless of what others would say, and you told it just as it was told you, just as you experienced it. Let me show you how they are selected. In the depths of the soul, they are selected. A week ago, last Friday night, this lady taking to bed this message she heard from this platform. And she said, "I found myself in a far, far place. It was so remote, both in place and in time. I did not understand anything that I saw or heard. Suddenly, the confusion ceased, and I am in a huge, huge room, glass fronted, and marble pillars. And it's practically empty, just the chair where I am seated. Then I feel I am expecting someone who I do not know, but I have the feeling I am expecting someone. Then a carriage drives up. It is undoubtedly self-propelled. It's a carriage of a different period, but it's not a horse-drawn vehicle. It's a carriage of a different period, but undoubtedly self-propelled. The door opens, and out steps a man who embodies power. He is the embodiment and personification of power and authority. He's a tall man with gray, curly hair. He is wearing an Inverness cape and carrying a small attaché bag. He moves swiftly into the room where I am and walks over. There is no greeting, and he begins to talk, that's all. And here is the embodiment of power speaking, and he's only talking on power. Here is a lesson in power. And Neville, he is you. I am looking at you, and suddenly I know he is God. I'm saying to myself, he is God, and he is Neville. He continues talking on power, sheer power, unadulterated power. I am saying to myself, he is God, and he is Neville. And then he comes to the end of what he is saying. There's no recognition of my presence at all. And when he is through talking, he turns around, walks back, makes his exit, and as though by appointment, the carriage comes into sight. He enters the carriage, and just as he enters the carriage, they disappear. They vanish suddenly. I was bewildered. I woke. I am simply completely bewildered, awestruck. I went to the bathroom. I came back to my bed, saying I must tell this to Neville. Went back to bed and redreamed the dream. But this time, it is as though I am remembering the dream in the dream. And I am making every preparation to tell it to you. So I start. And as I start to tell it to you, I find a ticket office. I move toward the ticket office, and my friend Marge Broom is there. Just as I meet her, this something struck me in the forehead, between my eyes, and just above the eye. And it was painful, a sharp pain. I saw it. It looked like a stone. So I picked it up. It was about 3 or 4 inches long and about 3/4 of an inch thick. It was a polished topaz with gold buried all through it, embedded in the entire piece. As I'm showing it to Marge, a man walks over and looks at it and says, "It's valuable. You could cut it up into pieces and get quite a lot of money for it." She said that commercial idea appealed to me. And so I took it and put it in my purse. Then we started towards the ticket office. I must get to Neville to tell him this dream. Suddenly, Marge disappears. I look for my car, and the car has disappeared. I open my purse, and the purse is empty. There is no money, and there is no topaz. I'm saying to myself, what will I, and then I arrested the thought. She was about to say, what will I use for money? She arrested the thought. She said, I will go with him. I will imagine I am with Neville. And immediately she was in my home, and she is telling me the dream. She comes down to the point of the dream, just before she remembered the teaching, how to imagine, when the doorbell rang. Then through the door came a group of gay, laughing, wonderful people. Youth personified in numbers. It was time for me to take my walk and for her to leave. And she left so frustrated because she didn't tell me in the dream how she remembered the teaching and applied it successfully. As she woke, she said, I was thinking that I would tell you on Monday. Well, she did. She brought the letter on Monday night, last Monday night. So when I went home, I could read that letter Monday night. This was so vivid to me that she woke saying, I must tell. I'll tell Neville on Monday. That's how one is chosen. In the depths of the soul, my Father calls the 12. My work isn't complete until the 12 are called. There'll be 70, and there'll be more, but not until 12. One who in dream applies it. One who has actually seen the truth of what I am saying, that God himself sent me, and he sent me when he was wearing the garment of power. So when that man came in and began to talk on power, he himself embodied power. He radiated power. And he was Neville, and yet he was God. So I can say this to you, and you know my weaknesses as man. And you'll say, oh, silly, come on. Give us something else, tell us something else. And so many will give me lip service. But in the depths of the soul, you don't give me lip service. In the depths of the soul, it unfolds, and you know who I am. But I tell you, I am not unique. So are you. The day will come when you too will be called, and you too will be embraced into the body of God in the form of love. You too will be sent, but sent by power. If I was sent when he wore the garment of love, I would tell you nothing but the garment of love. But I wasn't. I was sent when he was wearing the garment of power. He wore the garment of Jesus Christ. For Jesus Christ is the power and the wisdom of God. So I have been telling it since it happened. What greater power in this world than to be able to effect the fulfillment of desire? She had no friend. She had no car. She had no money. She had no topaz. But she remembered a power that I am talking about. She exercised an instant without any means of transportation. There she is in my home, telling me her dream. That is the use of power. If you had all the power known to man, like nuclear power, or the power of wealth, or that enormous power known to man, but that is nothing, it's a firecracker. Today, a man with $2 billion can't buy respect. There are those tonight throwing their whole future away because they're playing it on this level. They think they're very, very smart. And they make one tiny little slip, and with all of their multiple millions that they have, they can't redeem it. They can't buy the respect of the people whose confidence they lost by one tiny little political slip. What had happened right before your eyes now, but those who know this power can apply it without any background, without any billions behind them to put them into office, and just dwell in the office as though it were true. What would it be like were it true? Let me dwell in it just as though it is true. And in a way that no one knows, that power will take them. Without money, without a topaz, without a friend, without a car, into office, and they will fill it. That is what I'm talking about. That is what I've been sent to tell you. Tell you of the power of God. And that power of God is personified in Scripture as Jesus Christ. People have made of this a little fetish and laid some little icon and called that Jesus Christ. I am not speaking of that little Jesus Christ. I am speaking of a power that is resident in man. That's the power that I was sent to tell you about. This is Jesus Christ. And when he sent me, he never left me. So those who see me see him who sent me. So when she saw power that sent me, she saw me. She saw him who sent me. And I'm just like him. He sent me into the world, and he and I are one. He never left me. When I leave here now, to whom do I go? I go back to the one who sent me, and he and I are one. And we will both return as one, back into the body of ourselves called love. And there we go. For this is the story as I read it in Scripture, and as I've experienced it in my own mystical manner. So here I can say to her, you have been called from the very get-go, for you met it. You proved in the far regions of your mind that you were faithful to the word. And Father, I have given them the words that thou gavest me, and they have received them, and they know in truth that I came from thee. They have believed them, that thou didst send. But she knows it now from actual experience. She saw the power personified. She knew it was God, and yet she knew it is Neville. For she knows I haven't lied to her, that I have kept the faith and told it just as it happened to me. So she had to experience it in the depths of herself. She had to, and know that it is true. Now here is another story. We speak of symbols in the world. Everything is a symbol. I don't care what it is. Your mother's a symbol, your father's a symbol, all symbols. And this lady writes, the dream started, and I am in a huge big dormitory. All the girls are present. I can say I was present, but really in another sense I wasn't, because I was just about to leave. But I had my own room, my own space rather, and they are all talking about someone losing a child. They all had a chart, and there were 12 days, and each day had a certain letter to the day. The first initial of that day was simply the first letter in the event to be experienced that day. So this was the day on this person's chart, and it was a K. And so her child was kidnapped. She began to explain to me and to all the others. See, she had to experience this day, because here is her chart. She began to bawl her out, and bawl all the others out who believed this trash, and began to explain, you don't have to experience these things. You can revise the entire day. Who told you that you must limit yourself by a chart and have 12 days each day with a letter, and that first letter is going to be the first letter of the experience of the day? This is nonsense. She began to explain the art of revision, the power of imagining. Then she said, she told the woman, you don't have to lose your child. You can get the child back. And she explained it in detail. Then she said, they all seem so docile. So I simply took my own child and I left. I went off into a long, long journey with so many people. I met so many travelers, and then I decided to return. So I came back to find the place that I occupied is now occupied by another woman. Everything is as it was, minus one or two little changes she made. But she is doing the same thing I did, playing the same part I played, doing over and over and over as all the others were doing, playing the same part I played. I noticed that the library was changed. Instead of my book, she had replaced my book with her book. And my books were placed under the bed. My books were all encyclopedias. So I say to her in the most forceful manner, get my books out and put them back where they belong, and take those books away. That's what she did in her dream. Then she said, there was a great ado, a joyful state, where everyone was now singing because my grandmother is coming. Now she said I must go aside. this is not the dream, but I must tell you, my most joyful early childhood was spent with my grandmother. She was the essence of what a grandmother should be in the life of every grandchild. I think of all the things she cooked, the lemon pie. I think of the Indian summer. I think of the hothouse. I think of the flowers, of all the lovely things, and an abundant overflowing of love. So my childhood was swamped with love because of my grandmother. So when they said my grandmother was coming, I was excited. And here comes my grandmother, who died in 1962. Now this is 1968 where this takes place. She comes in, and she is at least 15 years younger, at least 15. But she said, here, I've never known her so vital. She must have died when she was a young person, because she's still a very young person today. So 15 years off would be considerable if you are one who loses a grandmother at a young age. For she died in 62, but in 62, which was 6 years ago, she'd still be a very young person. So she said she was 15 years younger. Her hair was thicker. Her eyes were bright. Everything about her vital. I have never known such vitality in my grandmother. She came up with open arms, and she embraced me, and we kissed. I could feel the coolness of her skin. I could feel her lips against my lips as we kissed and embraced. While I am holding and feeling the thrill of my grandmother, she becomes rigid. She drops in my hand, and she's dead. And she falls to the floor. Everyone is concerned and sad about it, and I am overly joyful. She falls to the floor, and then I see it for what it really is, the symbolism of my life, the part she played in my life, and this is an eternal part. Then I realize who I am when she fell to the floor, and then just simply vanished. She not only fell, but she disappeared from the floor. All around me are sad, and I am not sad at all. Here is the most marvelous experience. Here is one who has had the experience of arresting an activity and starting it again, so she is tasting of the power of the life to come, the power of the new age. She sees that everything here is really dead. Everything here is a symbol, and we are playing parts. Now she knows it from experience. She goes back to the old state to find it is the same thing over and over and over, with a slight modification. She tries to bring it back to its former state by bringing back the books from under the bed, but she gives it up. It means nothing. And out she goes to meet the grandmother, to find the grandmother alive, young, wonderful, vital. And after the embrace and the kiss, then she drops. So I tell you, I have been sent to tell you who you really are. Sent to tell you of a power of which you may be totally unaware, that you do not need a social, intellectual, financial, or any other background to achieve your goal. You may have all of these tonight and fail in your objective. And you may not have any of those things and realize your objective if you will believe. So, do you believe in Him? He said, what is the work of God? To believe in Him whom He has sent. John 6:29. Well, believe in whom? Believe in Neville as a man? No. Believe in my word. Believe what I have told you. I have told you of a power. That power is Jesus Christ. So when I said believe in Jesus Christ, I am not asking you to believe in Neville, a man. You might find me tonight in some environment which you will condemn because you think that is not a place where he should be seen. And therefore you have no faith in what he teaches. But divorce the man for what he is telling you and believe in what he is telling you. His word is the word of his Father, and his Father is Jesus Christ. And he is one with his Father. They are one. He was always in the company of tax collectors and sinners. And they condemned him for that. They knew his physical origin. They said, where are you from? He said, I have told you, but you wouldn't believe me. They said, who is your father? He said, you wouldn't know. If you knew me, you would know my Father also. But you know neither me nor my Father. My Father is he whom you call God. But I know my Father, and you know not your God. John 8:19. And so they took up stones to stone him, because they did not believe his ultimate origin. They saw the physical origin. Yes, anyone can investigate this and its physical origin. It's recorded in the little island. It's there on the book. They were taken at that time when I was born, the records of birth and the records of baptism. So these are there. You can see them. That's my physical origin. So when you go back, he said, I know his father, his mother, his brother, his sister. We know these things. But do you know my ultimate origin? Do you know him who sent me? And do you know the phrase, him who sent me, is used on his lips 25 times in the Gospel of John. 25 times. He's always referring to him who sent him. And no one can follow him. So if in the depths you begin to so exercise what you have heard, that you actually exercise it and prove it in the dream, as she did. Immediately, she's in my home telling me the dream. And that's how they are called. They aren't called on the surface at all. Not one is called. Because the whole drama is supernatural. It did not take place here on earth. Not in the sense of secular history. It takes place while man walks the earth. It takes place in the deeper regions of the individual. And that's where it takes place. So he didn't call Peter while he was fishing. in the waters of this land, and then call Andrew, call John, and James, and all the others. No, these are simply symbolic of the states of mind that heard, believed, and in the depths it happened, and they were called that way. But no man on the surface is calling them, for you would call them by appearance and think, now isn't she lovely, or isn't he lovely, and she is rich and he is rich, and they would give so much to the call. That's what they're all doing. So you go to church, and best pews used to be until recently were always reserved for the rich. I know when I was a boy, we didn't have much money, but we had a little position, so we had our own pew. And here was the name Mrs. Goddard, and no one dared sit in the pew. So she came with her brood every Sunday morning. We all had to come, reluctantly, but we came. Mother led the whole bunch of us. Here, the little name, that was Mrs. Goddard's pew. Now today, that's a thing of the past, because you can't have reserve or bought. But even though the name is not allowed on it is still an unwritten rule in all the so-called proper churches, and they still reserve it for those who have large sums of money. The minister, if he sees their face on a Sunday morning, tears out what he had intended to say and speaks what they want to hear, or they aren't going to get a large donation. I know this from experience, for it came to me out of the horse's mouth in New York City. St. Luke's is a marvelous hospital in New York City, and next to it is St. John the Divine, the unfinished cathedral, the biggest thing and really a beautiful piece of work. And then there is St. Thomas, the cathedral on Fifth Avenue, all Episcopal. The hospital, St. Luke's, is run by the Episcopal Church. And this lady was going to give St. Thomas $2 million if the bishop was not still alive, Bishop Manning. Well, the old boy outlived her, so she gave it to St. Luke. So the hospital fell heir to $2 million. Now that's the Christian. She thought she was working her way right into the arms of God. And he would say, I never heard of. Never heard of. Do not know who you are. So she thought by that very generous gift of $2 million, either to one place, provided of course that the old boy was dead. If he was dead, the church would get it. If he wasn't dead, the hospital would get it. And yet they are both one. And here is this little person with millions of dollars, and she gave $2 million to either one or the other, providing one was dead, and if he hadn't died, the other one got it. And that is what goes on in all these so-called proper churches. Where do you go? Well, you must leave that and go to this church. Because if you meet the right people and do these things, and that's called Christianity. Well, I wasn't sent to tell you of that. I was sent to tell you of the real Christ. And the real Christ is your own wonderful human imagination. And there is nothing impossible to Christ. You don't need anything else. All I can say is test yourself and see whether you are holding to the faith. We think we are, and suddenly something comes up, and I wonder, well, who can I interest in this venture of mine? Where could I turn? And we do not turn to Christ. When she found herself denuded of a friend, no friend, Marge was gone. No car, no transportation to my home, no money to get there. She's in the ticket office, no topaz that she can break up into pieces and sell it. And then she remembered. She went within and imagined herself in my home. And immediately she's in my home. She met the test. And therefore she is called. I've got to go back with my work completed. He is sent me, and he is drawing into my world those who will fill the bill. And when it is completed, it could be this night, I will go. For she had a double dream. Bear that in mind. The 41st chapter of Genesis. The doubling of the dream means that the thing has been fixed by God. And God will shortly bring it to pass. Verse 32. So this dream being doubled, it has a double jet of truthfulness. She has met the test. That was the most important thing in it, that she met the test. In her dream, she imagined herself in my presence, and immediately she's with me in my home. The second is that she came into the circle, and I do not feel it can be long. It will shortly come to pass. I came out from the Father, and I came into the world. Now I am leaving the world and returning to the Father. John 16:28. So I take in this dream of her that shortly it must come to pass. And just as I vanished without leaving a trace, just vanished, it will come in that manner. I take it in her revelation that she has met the test. And my departure, I cannot see how it can be long delayed, but it cannot be until I have finished the work that he gave me to do. So I can then say, I have finished the work that thou gavest me to do. Now return unto me the glory that was mine, the glory that I had before that the world was. John 17:4. For I came out from it. There is pre-existence. And I came into the world wearing a garment of flesh. And I have done the work which you gave me to do, to form the nucleus and to see that they do believe in you, which is their own wonderful human imagination, and that they will not turn to a false God. They will keep that God alive in them. And then reach the 70 and reach 144 and go on from there. So when the work is done, one has to depart. So I take comfort in her vision that it shall shortly come to pass. Now here, believe me, it's the most glorious story ever told man. The story of how God became man, that man may become God. But man must be told over and over who this God is that became him. That he is all imagination, that is the real man. And that imagination of his is God. That is the powerhouse of the world. Infinite power resides in your imagination. Just imagine that you are now imprisoned and they've thrown away the key. And you can imagine yourself where you want to be. Believe in the reality of your imaginal act. If it took armies to release you, it would make no difference to you, but you will get out uninjured, and you will find yourself where you have imagined yourself to be. But isn't that a far greater power than bribing your way out and then being sent back in because you're caught driving and doing all the things that violate the laws of Caesar? He never violated one law of Caesar. Do you pay taxes? Give me a coin. Whose inscription is this? It's Caesar's. Well, then render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. Mark 12:14. But they want so much. All right, make that much more and give it to them. It makes no difference. And so he wants this, he wants that, he wants the other. That's told you in the book of Samuel. As long as you have a God outside of self, he is going to impose upon you every limitation in the world. Read it carefully in the book of Samuel. They wanted a king, and he warned them what would happen if they expected a king and took a king. But they wanted to be like other people and have a leader over them. He said that first of all, you'll take your maidservants and you'll take all your male servants and your son and your daughter. He'll take your money. And when he's taken everything from you, then he'll take you. In that day that he takes you to enslave, as he has all the others, you will cry out to be saved from a God of your own choosing. But in that day, I will have no heir to him.
1 Samuel
8:11. But in spite of the warning, they still say, give us a king over us. So they chose Saul. With all the warning that came from the prophet Samuel, they insisted on Saul. Well, Saul enslaved them exactly as was foretold. You want a king, or you want a leader, or you want a dictator, and see what happens. Whether it be in Cuba, Russia, any place, even in our land. And suddenly, all the things coming upon us, and we simply fulfill Scripture. When it comes to this power, listen to these words, for they knew he embodied infinite might. And he turned to those who would have him exercise it. He said, do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will at once send more than 12 legions of angels? But how should Scripture be fulfilled? Must it not be so?
Matthew
26:53. He came promising himself and the one who sent him that he would not exercise it in such a way, that he would subject himself to all the limitations of the flesh and abide by the will of him who sent him, and drink that cup to the very bitter end, every drop, no matter what happened to him. All the disgrace, let them call him a phony, let them call him everything under the sun. Time will prove that he was God walking the earth. And so he drank the cup to the bitter end, although he could have called or he could have exercised the power. and at once to his rescue would be more than 12 legions of angels. But he said, no, I will drink it to the very last drop, and then return to him who sent me. And then we are one. And he will say to me, having done exactly what I was commissioned to do, enter, my faithful servant, into the joy of the Lord.
Matthew
25:21 to 23. And there is no joy like it, none, when you once more are reincorporated into the body of love. For you return to the body of might, and then into the body of love. Now let us go into the silence.